What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here, PackersNews.com, live on Facebook late in the day on Friday, heading into Memorial Day weekend. The Packers have announced the signing of tight end Mercedes Lewis, the free agent formerly of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tight end who should definitely augment the running game and still supply a little bit in the passing game. Certainly an excellent counterpunch to Jimmy Graham at the tight end position. Packers have also announced a bunch of front office moves. You can read about those at PackersNews.com. Before we head into this 3-day holiday weekend, I thought I'd jump on here and see what's up with you fine folks. See what's on your minds, any questions you might have. Ron, what's up, man? James, thanks for jumping on. Michael, TGIF, man, I hear you there. Most definitely. Matthew, hello, thanks for joining us. So yeah, the Packers, I tell you what, as late in the process as this signing is, the Lewis signing, that could be a big difference maker in their offense as far as their ability not only to run the football, but to free up Jimmy Graham to do a lot of different stuff. Clearly, Graham and blocking, not exactly peanut butter and jelly going together, but they can now move him around the formation quite a little bit, knowing that they can mix and match personnel dependent on what they see at the line of scrimmage. Rodgers will be able to split him out basically on a whim and know that he's still got another tight end on the other side who can do whatever's asked. He can absolutely contribute in the running game. You look at his tape from last year and he is moving defensive ends 2 or 3 yards off the ball. And that's a pretty impressive feat for a tight end. He absolutely played a big part in the Jaguars' run game. There's no secret that Blake Bortles, he had his struggles at quarterback, but you couple that with the obvious run-first tendency down there in Jacksonville, and it's clear that he wasn't being used, Lewis was not being used to his fullest extent in the passing game. With Aaron Rodgers pulling the trigger, you got to think this guy's about to go from black and white to color, much like Dorothy landing in Oz. So the passing game, the offense in general, definitely in for a big boost with the addition of Lewis. Josh, what's up, man? Thanks for joining us. Rodgers has a ton of weapons plus a run game. Anything other than an MVP would be a huge disappointment. That's setting yourself up for disappointment. But, hey, man, whatever you feel like. What up, Mr. Nagler? Happy Friday. What you drinking this long weekend? Whatever's in the fridge, man. Right now it's Newcastle. Does this offseason seem more active to you than most others? Maybe the last couple years. Not more than last year, though. I mean, especially since, last year they hadn't even brought in Ahmad Brooks and Quentin Dial at this point. They're certainly in more conversations that we know about. That's something that has changed noticeably under Gutekunst, and that is something he indicated that would be the case. He wanted to be in on things. He wanted to be in the mix, so to speak, and that has happened, whether it's something like Lewis, which obviously turned into a signing, or in the conversation with guys like Allen Robinson at the opening in free agency. Clearly that's something where they were interested, they took a swing, didn't land the deal, but they were still in the mix. And as Brian Gutekunst said at the start of his tenure, that is something he wanted to make sure they were doing. Checking in from Houston Texans. What's up, man? Greg from Patriots territory. I'm sorry, man. When I go to the Cape every summer with my family, we were always surrounded. Although I will say, we go at the end of the summer right before camp, and you feel the excitement. That area is, they love their football. There's no doubt about that. Clay isn't happy on pass rushing. What do you think? I don't know so much of he's not happy. I think, he was surprised a little bit at the lack of additions behind him at outside linebacker. But, it gives Vince Beagle and Reggie Gilbert a little extra kick, kind of prove what they got, I think. Because it's clear the Packers are counting on them. So it's up to them to take that step and reward the Packers with their patience with them and show Matthews that he's not as alone as he thinks outside. Does Lance Kendricks lose his spot on the 53 with the Lewis signing? It's a possibility. He doesn't have an exorbitant salary cap hit, but they could easily shave a bit of cap there by losing Kendricks. But I think, if anything, it gives them a pretty significant three-headed monster at tight end. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's absolutely safe. I think they could easily get through camp or even through OTAs and minicamp and think he's extraneous to requirements. But I do think he absolutely gives them that H-back move type tight end, a guy who can line up in the backfield, split out wide, move all over the formation. He's not the world's greatest blocker, but he's better than Jimmy Graham, and you're going to need depth. It's a long season. It's a position that takes a big toll mentally, and you're going to need as many of those big targets as you can get throughout the season when injuries strike. So I would tend to think they keep him around, but it's not a given. Do all of our draft picks make the 53? Whew, I doubt it, just because there's so many of them. The Packers have shown year after year they are a club that, while they do value their draft picks, there's no doubt about that, they're also a club that gives plenty of opportunities to undrafted guys and free agents. And I think if someone jumps up and makes some, turns some heads between now and the end of camp, it could be at the expense of one of the rookie draft picks. You never really know how it's going to play out. But you don't have to look much further than last year. A bunch of those guys didn't make it. And you got to think there are a whole lot of those, there's 3 wide receivers all vying for precious few spots. So I would be surprised if all of them made the 53. Is Evans still a possible re-sign? Yeah, Matthew, I would think he's possible. I think he's probably on their short list. He hasn't retired, so he's clearly still available. I think they'll go with what they've got for now, but I think certainly they'll keep those lines of communication open. Trevor Davis for sure is gone. Never say anything's for sure, man. Gotta let things play out. Injuries happen. He could take a big step in development. You never know. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but you gotta wait and see what happens. What's up from Los Angeles? How you doing, man? What are your thoughts on Lewis? Jess, I talked about it at the beginning of the video, but I think he absolutely brings a big-time blocking presence, clearly, to the tight end position. And he really, I think he's a really sneaky steal this late in the free agency process. It really lets them kind of dictate what they want to do on offense, because they don't have to lock into he's the blocking guy, and when Graham comes on, they're going to pass the ball, etc. He's versatile enough that they can go 2 tight ends and then pretty much dictate to the defense how they want to operate, regardless of what personnel the defense may throw at them. He can seal an edge. He can split out. He's still a big-time red zone weapon. He's got better hands than most people give him credit for. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a steal of a signing. Now, obviously, we have to see the contract. We don't know the numbers yet. We don't know how many years it's for, but I can't imagine they've broken the bank here. You think we're going to the Super Bowl? Anthony, ask me again in late August. I think they'll be contenders. I think there's no doubt about that, especially as long as 12 is upright and healthy. They should be in contention. Over under route with him and Graham and 2 tight end set. I'm telling you, man, get that ace formation and let it rip. Any news on if the Packers will go after the linebacker for Philadelphia? I haven't heard anything on Kendrick Mykel. The name is escaping me. It's Kendricks, right? I'm talking tight ends here, and I'm like, but no, I have not heard anything. I haven't heard anything about any team going after him, actually, which is unusual. Usually, especially when a guy's been requesting a trade for as many years as he has, and then he finally gets released, usually the agent will throw something out there right away of, so many calls, so much interest, but I haven't heard anything, so in Green Bay or otherwise. Does Dez want more than $3? Yes, I believe so. Dez not likely? Yeah, Mary, at this point, the Lewis signing, I think, really kind of shuts that door. It allows Graham to be the receiving threat completely, with Lewis there to kind of man the inline stuff. But never say never, but I think it's down to a 1% chance at this point. What is the one position we are lacking right now? Shawn, I don't know if they're lacking anything, but I think the one big question mark is still right tackle. That's an area where I guess they're banking on Kyle Murphy and or Jason Spriggs continuing to develop in light of, Brian Bulaga. It's going to be hard to imagine him being ready for week 1, so sure looks like that's the plan. And to me, that's not much of a plan. Will Lewis be a threat with Graham in the red zone? Absolutely. No question. As I had said that on my podcast today, which is at packersnews.com. You should check it out. As a defensive coordinator, where do you roll the coverage? Who do you choose to double? And whoever it is, I mean, if you imagine you come out 2 tight end set with 1 split wide, say Adams or whatever, and then you split Graham out on the other side. And by the way, you've still got Randall Cobb to deal with, or one of the back guys out of the backfield, say Ty Montgomery, and then you split him to the other slot. Where do you even begin as a defensive coordinator to, allocate your resources, so to speak, to stop those guys? I mean, that is going to keep some DCs up at night, no doubt about it. Heard Kaiser was missing throws badly. Not sure I agree with your police work there, Norm. Your opinion on the new NFL anthem rule? Where to begin? I think it's hackenade, to say the least. The number one thing I keep thinking when I read the coverage of it, when I talk to people in the league about it, is why did the NFL think they needed a rule? And why did they think they needed to do anything? It was something that had completely died out as a talking point and or headline. They felt they needed to make a rule about it, and I don't understand why. I mean, a lot of guys had just completely stopped kneeling and or protesting altogether, and now you've given them all the impetus they need to get back to it. So it's just head scratching to me. The NFL has never met an opportunity that it hasn't relished screwing up royally, and they certainly have here. David, what did you miss? Not a whole lot, just me babbling. Oh, and Mercedes Lewis signed at tight end. Hey, we got First Amendment comments here. Now, I'm not touching any of that with 10-foot pole. Everybody says, affected the NFL bottom line. I guess. I don't know. There's no real concrete evidence of that. There's loss of viewership in television ratings, but there's also upswing in streaming viewership. And not to mention streaming rights. I mean, they signed with Amazon for how many billions of dollars? Verizon deal got re-upped. They're on more platforms now than they've ever been, getting paid by more people than they've ever been. So I'm really hard-pressed. Oh, and by the way, ad revenue went up despite a loss of television viewership. So all this kind of trial balloon or this talking point that some people cling to that, it affected their bottom line. Not really. I mean, they're making more money now than they ever have. So I don't really understand that one. Loss of viewership could be because of the expensive replays. Yeah, but sure. Jordan, does Bryce Brown, because he had this animal second year. You know what? He was one of the bigger disappointments for me last season. He was a guy who, like you say, he looked really promising his rookie year. And I thought he was going to take a big jump going into his second season. But he seemed to be trying to kind of line up big hits more than he was really going to tackle guys and make the play that was assigned to him. I saw that time and again last year prior to his injury and being put on injured reserve. So, Mike McCarthy has said that he will be in the mix for the starting safety spot opposite Clinton Dix. So they clearly still believe in him and want to give him a chance. But he's got to improve on what he put on tape last year. There's no doubt about it. How much does the cap go up each year? Craig, generally around $10 million. That's not set in stone. It actually went up a little less than expected this year, but on average, the last 3 or 4 seasons, it's been hovering around $10 million. Who's the backup center? Right now, that's Dillon, a guy that they picked up from the Denver Broncos late in the year last year. And actually, Aaron Rodgers gave him an unsolicited shout-out at his locker earlier this week. So sounds like that kid's having a good start to OTAs. And Corey Linsley was the only person on either side of the ball to play every single snap last year. You can't count on that continuing. So it's good to have somebody ready to step in if injury should strike at their starting center. Heard anything about the DB that failed the physical with the Panthers? Is that Shawn Breeland? I think he was talking to Arizona. I don't think the Packers are interested at this point. I think they've got the guys they need. Will the Appleton West Terrors win state? You bet they will. I have no idea. But that's my alma mater, so go Terrors. All right, everybody, I'm going to jump. I got beers to drink and things to grill. It's the holiday weekend. Get outside, enjoy it. Hope you guys have a great weekend with your families or whatever you're doing, grilling out. Have a great time. I'll be back on Tuesday. In the meantime, check PackersNews.com for all the latest. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great holiday weekend.